The story opens with Captain Jake Morrison of the human diplomatic vessel Endeavour preparing to attend the most significant event in galactic commerce, the Grand Auction of Territories. This prestigious gathering, held once every 50 standard cycles, determines which species gains control over newly discovered resource-rich systems, ancient technological repositories, and strategic waypoints throughout the galaxy. For humanity, a relatively young species that only achieved faster than light travel 3 decades ago, even receiving an invitation was considered a diplomatic victory. The Galactic Consortium had finally acknowledged Earth's presence, though most elder species viewed humans as naive newcomers who would quickly learn their place in the established order. Jake is accompanied by his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Kelly Warren, a brilliant strategist who has spent years studying galactic economics and interspecies politics. As they approach the massive auction station orbiting a neutral star, Kelly reviews their modest budget with obvious concern. Humanity has pooled every available credit, called in favors from their few allies, and even mortgaged several colony worlds to assemble enough funds to make a single meaningful bid. Their instructions from Earth's united government are clear but seemingly impossible. Acquire something, anything, that will give humanity a foothold among the galactic powers. The pressure weighs heavily on both officers, knowing that billions of humans are counting on them to prove Earth's worth on the interstellar stage. Upon arrival, Jake and Kelly are immediately struck by the sheer scale and grandeur of the event. The auction hall is a marvel of engineering, a crystalline dome large enough to contain a small moon, filled with thousands of delegates from hundreds of species. The Vrax Imperium, an ancient reptilian civilization, commands one entire section with their delegation of military advisors and economic analysts. The Crystalline Lumina Collective occupies another, their bodies refracting light into dazzling patterns as they communicate through color and vibration. The Insectoid Hive Mindworks, the Mechanical Synthesis Union, the Aquatic Depth Dwellers, all the major powers of the galaxy are represented. Humans, with their delegation of just 12 people, occupy a small corner that many species don't even notice. Some delegates openly mock humanity's presence, wondering aloud why such a primitive species was even invited. Others simply ignore them entirely, which Jake finds almost more insulting. The Auction Master, a being of pure energy named Zix who claims to be older than most civilizations present, begins the proceedings with great ceremony. The first items are relatively minor: mineral-rich asteroids, abandoned space stations, survey rights to unexplored nebulae. The bidding is fierce even for these lesser prizes, with prices quickly escalating beyond humanity's entire budget. Jake watches in growing dismay as the Vrax Imperium casually spends more on a single fuel depot than Earth's total gross planetary product. Kelly notices something interesting, though. The truly powerful species aren't bidding on everything. They're waiting, watching, conserving their resources for specific items. She begins to understand that this auction is as much about strategy and patience as it is about wealth. Hours pass, and dozens of valuable prizes are sold. Humanity hasn't placed a single bid, drawing curious glances and knowing smirks from other delegations. The Vrax ambassador, a towering creature named Craxus the Unyielding, approaches Jake during a brief recess with barely concealed contempt. He suggests that humanity should leave now and save themselves the embarrassment of being unable to afford anything worthwhile. Jake responds with surprising calm, thanking Craxus for his concern, but assuring him that humanity knows exactly what they're doing. This response clearly puzzles the Vrax ambassador, who has centuries of experience reading other species and usually knows when someone is bluffing. There's something in Jake's confidence that doesn't quite fit the profile of a desperate, outmatched negotiator. The auction continues into its second day, with even more spectacular items being offered. Strategic stargates that could cut travel times by months, terraforming technology from a long-dead civilization, mining rights to entire planetary systems. Each sale is a reminder of the vast wealth and power humanity lacks, but Kelly has been taking detailed notes, and she shares her observations with Jake during their evening meeting. She's noticed a pattern. The elder species are avoiding certain items, seemingly valuable ones, for reasons that aren't immediately clear. There's an almost coordinated avoidance of anything related to one particular region of space, a sector known as the contested fringe, an area of space that has changed hands dozens of times over the millennia and is currently unclaimed due to some ancient treaty complications. On the third day, Zix the auction master announces an unusual item with obvious disinterest. The item is cataloged simply as administrative rights and historical claims to sector designation 749, more commonly known as the fringe sector. The description is deliberately vague, mentioning only that it includes 17 star systems, some with habitable planets, others with asteroid belts of unknown composition. Most notably, the sector contains the ruins of the precursor civilization, an ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago, leaving behind structures that no modern species has successfully excavated or understood. The starting bid is surprisingly low, almost insultingly so, given the potential value. The assembled delegates barely react. Several species representatives actually get up to stretch their legs or visit the refreshment stations, clearly uninterested. The room fills with murmurs of polite disinterest. Jake and Kelly exchange a meaningful look. This is it. This is what they've been waiting for. Before Kelly can finish her confirming nod, Jake stands and announces humanity's bid clearly and confidently, adding a substantial amount to the opening price. The entire auction hall falls silent. Thousands of eyes, optical sensors, and other sensory organs turn toward the human delegation. The silence lasts for a long, uncomfortable moment before it's broken by laughter. Not polite chuckling, but genuine, uproarious laughter from dozens of species. The Vrax delegation laughs so hard that their translator units struggle to keep up. The Lumina Collective's mirth creates a rainbow cascade that would be beautiful if it weren't so clearly mocking. Even Zix, the ancient auction master who has presided over countless such events, seems momentarily amused before quickly regaining professional composure. Craxus the unyielding stands, his massive form dominating the space as he addresses Jake directly with condescending sympathy. He explains, as if speaking to a child, that the fringe sector is worthless. It's a graveyard of failed civilizations and doomed colonies. 7 different species have tried to settle there over the past 10,000 years, and all have withdrawn or disappeared entirely. The precursor ruins are impenetrable and potentially dangerous, having consumed research teams from multiple civilizations. The habitable planets have unstable weather patterns and hostile indigenous life. The asteroid belts yield only common minerals that can be found anywhere in the galaxy. Most damning of all, the sector sits at a gravitational anomaly that makes standard faster-than-light travel unreliable, requiring longer, more expensive routes for any supply ships. It's a money pit, Craxus explains, a trap for the naive and desperate. He suggests that humanity withdraw their bid and preserve what little capital they have for something actually useful. Jake listens to this explanation with a patient smile that several delegates find unnerving. When Craxus finishes, Jake thanks him for the history lesson and then, to everyone's shock, doubles humanity's bid. The laughter dies immediately. Now there's genuine confusion in the auction hall. Kelly can see delegates frantically consulting their advisors, pulling up data on their personal terminals, trying to understand what humans might know that they don't. The Lumina Collective sends a private communication to other major powers, suggesting they investigate whether humanity has discovered something about the sector that has escaped notice for millennia. The paranoia is palpable, but despite all this sudden interest and concern, no one else bids. The prize is too tainted by history, too well known as a trap. After the required waiting period, Zix declares humanity the winner, his tone carrying a mix of pity and morbid curiosity about how quickly humanity will regret this decision. The transfer of ownership is completed immediately, as is traditional. Jake signs the necessary documents, transferring humanity's carefully hoarded resources in exchange for administrative rights to a sector that the entire galaxy considers worthless. As Jake and Kelly prepare to leave, several delegates approach them with what appears to be genuine concern. An elderly Lumina named Brightness at Dawn, who has witnessed 3 centuries of auctions, takes the unusual step of offering personal advice. She warns Jake that pride has destroyed more than one species, and that there's no shame in negotiating with the consortium to reverse the purchase if humanity realizes their mistake within the first standard year. Jake politely declines, thanking her for her kindness but assuring her that humanity is committed to their decision. As they depart, Jake can feel hundreds of beings watching them, wondering if they're witnessing the beginning of humanity's collapse or if, against all logic and history, the humans know something no one else does. The return journey to Earth is tense. Kelly reviews their purchase repeatedly, cross-referencing it with every database humanity has access to. She finds nothing that would explain Jake's confidence, nothing that would suggest the fringe sector is anything other than what the galactic community claims. When she finally confronts Jake in his quarters, demanding to know what he saw that she missed, his answer surprises her. He didn't see anything special about the sector itself. What he saw was the pattern of avoidance, the coordinated dismissal, the way every major power seemed just a little too eager to explain why the sector was worthless. In Jake's experience, when everyone agrees something has no value, it usually means someone is hiding something. And if the elder species wanted humanity to avoid this sector, that alone made it worth investigating. Back on Earth, Jake and Kelly face a decidedly mixed reception. The civilian leadership is furious, accusing Jake of gambling humanity's future on a hunch and potentially bankrupting Earth's space program for generations. Scientists and military advisors are more intrigued, particularly when Kelly presents her analysis of how carefully the elder species avoided mentioning specific details about the sector. Some members of the United Government actually support the decision, arguing that humanity needed to take a bold risk rather than playing it safe and remaining permanently junior members of the galactic community. After weeks of heated debate, a compromise is reached. Humanity will commit to a full survey and colonization effort in the fringe sector, but with strict parameters. They have 5 standard years to show results, or the government will attempt to sell the rights back to the consortium, however embarrassing that might be. Jake is given command of the survey mission, with Kelly as his executive officer. They assemble a team of humanity's best: xenoarchaeologists, exogeologists, military specialists, engineers, and colonization experts. The survey ship Pathfinder, one of humanity's newest and most advanced vessels, is assigned to the mission along with 3 support ships and enough supplies to establish a temporary base. As they make final preparations, news of humanity's purchase has spread throughout the galaxy. The reaction is universally negative, ranging from amused disdain to genuine concern for humanity's survival as a spacefaring civilization. Several human-friendly species quietly contact Earth, offering to buy the sector rights at a loss just to save humanity from the impending disaster. All offers are politely declined. Jake knows that the entire galaxy is watching, waiting for humans to fail as every species before them has failed. The journey to the fringe sector takes 3 weeks, and the moment they enter the region, they understand why it has such a terrible reputation. The gravitational anomalies are worse than reported, forcing their navigation systems to recalculate constantly. Long-range sensors barely function, making it nearly impossible to get accurate readings of the star systems ahead. And then there are the ruins. The precursor structures are immediately visible even from the system's edge, massive geometric constructions that dwarf anything humanity has built. They're scattered across multiple planets and moons, clearly part of some vast, interconnected network whose purpose remains unknown. As Pathfinder approaches the first ruin-covered planet, Kelly detects something unusual on her scanners. There are faint energy signatures, almost imperceptible, pulsing in regular patterns. This is new data, nothing mentioned in any of the consortium's records. Jake orders a careful approach. The survey team lands on the planet designated as Haven 1, one of the supposedly habitable worlds. The planet is indeed harsh, with violent electrical storms and dense jungles filled with aggressive fauna. But it's survivable with proper equipment, and more importantly, it's resource-rich in ways that the consortium data never mentioned. The soil composition includes rare elements essential for advanced manufacturing. The atmosphere, while requiring filters for human breathing, is actually ideal for certain types of agriculture that could provide food for millions. Kelly coordinates surface teams, while Jake focuses on the precursor ruins dominating the landscape. The structures are enormous, made of a material that seems to absorb most forms of scanning. But unlike the reports that claim the ruins were impenetrable, the human team finds something immediately: an entrance, clearly designed for bipedal beings roughly human-sized. Jake leads a small team into the first structure, taking every possible precaution. The interior is vast and eerily preserved, as if the precursors left only yesterday rather than millions of years ago. The walls are covered in what appears to be data storage crystalline formations that pulse with the same energy signatures Kelly detected from orbit. Dr. Lisa Garrett, the team's lead xenoarchaeologist, is overwhelmed by the implications. These ruins aren't tombs or monuments. They're archives, vast repositories of information. And unlike every previous expedition, the human team finds that they can actually interface with the systems. The technology responds to their presence, to their DNA, to something fundamentally human. Holographic displays activate, showing star maps, mathematical formulas, and what appear to be technological schematics. The breakthrough is staggering, but even more important is the revelation that makes Kelly's blood run cold with understanding. The precursors, this ancient civilization that predated every known species in the galaxy, were human. Or more accurately, humanity's genetic ancestors, diverged from the same root stock millions of years ago through means the team doesn't yet understand. The implications are staggering and instantly explain why the elder species of the galaxy wanted humanity nowhere near this sector. This isn't just an ancient ruin site. It's humanity's birthright, evidence that humans aren't newcomers to the galactic stage, but descendants of one of its oldest civilizations. The technology in these archives, if humanity can access and understand it, could catapult Earth from a minor power to a major player overnight. More than that, it provides legal and historical claim to any other precursor sites scattered throughout the galaxy, sites that dozens of species have been quietly mining for technology while claiming they found nothing of value. Jake immediately realizes why the auction went the way it did. The elder species knew or strongly suspected humanity's connection to the precursors. They've been hoarding this information, keeping humanity ignorant and weak, while simultaneously ensuring humans stayed away from the one place that might reveal the truth. The sector wasn't avoided because it was worthless. It was avoided because allowing humanity to claim it would upend the entire galactic power structure. The low auction price, the coordinated dismissal, the warnings to withdraw the bid, all of it was theater designed to make humanity doubt themselves and walk away. But instead, humanity's naive boldness had led them to the biggest discovery in their species' history. The question now is what to do with this information, and how to protect it from the species that will desperately want to suppress it. Kelly works frantically to download and secure as much data as possible while Jake coordinates with Earth. The communication lag is frustrating, but eventually the message reaches the United Government along with enough preliminary data to prove their claims. The response is immediate and overwhelming. Every available ship is diverted to the fringe sector. Military forces are mobilized. Diplomatic channels explode with activity as Earth demands immediate meetings with the Galactic Consortium leadership. The most brilliant scientists and engineers are recruited for the ongoing excavation and study. Humanity has found its answer to the question of their place in the galaxy, And the answer is that they've been systematically deceived and suppressed by species that feared what humans might become if they knew their true heritage. News of humanity's discovery spreads rapidly throughout the galaxy despite Earth's attempts to control the information. The reaction is predictable but no less dramatic. Several species immediately demand that the consortium void the auction sale, claiming it was conducted under false pretenses. Others insist that precursor sites should be considered neutral galactic heritage, not the property of any single species. The Vrax Imperium, perhaps recognizing the threat to their dominance most clearly, begins moving warships toward the fringe sector under the pretense of offering protection against other aggressive species. The Lumina Collective files formal legal challenges, arguing that genetic similarity doesn't establish ownership of ancient ruins. The political situation spirals rapidly toward crisis, with decades of carefully maintained galactic peace threatening to collapse over the question of humanity's sudden and unexpected ascension. Jake and Kelly find themselves at the center of a crisis far bigger than they ever imagined. But they also have leverage now. The precursor archives contain not just technology but detailed records of galactic history, including a comprehensive account of which species have been secretly excavating and using precursor technology for millennia while claiming such technology was inaccessible. The evidence of this coordinated deception and technology theft is overwhelming and implicates virtually every major power in the galaxy. When Jake threatens to release this information publicly unless the galactic community respects humanity's legal claim to the fringe sector and all other precursor sites, the political calculation changes dramatically. Several species that were preparing for military action suddenly become much more interested in negotiation. The climax of the political crisis comes when Earth demands a full hearing before the Galactic Consortium Council, a gathering of the most powerful species in known space. Jake and Kelly present their case personally, with Dr. Garrett providing the scientific evidence of humanity's genetic connection to the precursors. They share carefully selected portions of the archive data, enough to prove their claims but not enough to reveal all their discoveries. The presentation is devastating. Species that have spent millennia portraying themselves as the natural leaders of galactic civilization are exposed as having built their power on stolen technology and coordinated lies. The Vrax Imperium's legendary military might include dozens of weapons systems reverse-engineered from precursor artifacts they claimed didn't exist. The Lumina Collective's advanced energy manipulation stems from precursor power sources they've been hoarding for generations. Faced with irrefutable evidence and the threat of complete exposure, the Galactic Consortium has no choice but to officially recognize humanity's claim to the fringe sector and establish a framework for investigating and adjudicating claims to other precursor sites throughout the galaxy. The decision is historic and transformative. Humanity is elevated to provisional major power status, with a seat on the Consortium Council and the right to participate in high-level galactic governance. The reparations demanded by Earth for millennia of deception and suppression are substantial, including access to trade routes, technology sharing agreements, and formal alliances with several species that respect humanity's handling of the crisis. Some species, particularly the Vrax, never forgive humanity for this embarrassment and remain hostile. Others, however, develop a grudging respect for the young species that outmaneuvered the entire galactic order. The story concludes 5 years after the auction, with Jake and Kelly returning to the same auction station for another grand auction of territories. The atmosphere is completely different this time. The human delegation now occupies a prime section of the hall, their contingent numbering in the hundreds, and including some of the galaxy's most respected scientists and diplomats. When they enter, many delegates actually stand in respect, and even former critics like Craxus the Unyielding offer formal greetings of acknowledgement. The humans aren't here to bid this time. They're here to offer something: access to carefully curated sections of the precursor archives, sold to species that agree to strict ethical guidelines about technology use and cultural development. The prices being offered are staggering, dwarfing anything sold at previous auctions. As the bidding begins on the first archive access package, Jake reflects on how dramatically the galaxy has changed. Humanity isn't the naive newcomer anymore. They're a major power with ancient roots and modern ambition, a species that turned what everyone assumed would be a catastrophic mistake into the greatest opportunity in their history. Kelly, now an admiral and Earth's chief negotiator with the consortium, reminds him that they still have work to do. The fringe sector has yielded incredible discoveries, but it's only one of dozens of precursor sites scattered throughout known space. Each new discovery brings new challenges, new political complications, and new opportunities for humanity to prove themselves. But that's exactly the kind of challenge humanity thrives on, the kind of impossible situation that brings out the best in human ingenuity, determination, and courage. The final scene shows Jake in a quiet moment after the auction, standing before a window looking out at the stars. He thinks about that first auction, when humanity placed a desperate bid on something everyone else dismissed, and how that single act of defiance and hope changed everything. The elder species had assumed humans would behave predictably, that they would accept their assigned place in the galactic hierarchy, that they would be intimidated by the weight of ancient civilizations and long-established power. They had forgotten something fundamental about humanity. Humans don't just accept the world as it is. They imagine what it could be and then make it happen, no matter how impossible it seems. That's what had happened at the auction. While everyone else saw worthless territory, Jake saw possibility. While everyone else saw an ancient mystery as a warning, humans saw it as an invitation. And that difference in perspective, that uniquely human combination of curiosity, courage, and stubborn optimism, had changed the galaxy forever. The story ends with humanity firmly established as a rising power in galactic affairs, their true intentions at the auction finally understood by all. They hadn't bid on the fringe sector to gain resources or territory. They had bid on it to claim their rightful place in galactic history, to connect with their ancient heritage, and to prove that no matter how young or small a civilization might seem, courage and vision can overcome any obstacle. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about underestimating humanity, and humans had learned that sometimes the best opportunities are the ones everyone else is afraid to take. As Jake watches new ships arriving at the station, bearing flags and emblems from species across the galaxy, he knows that humanity's journey is just beginning. And whatever challenges come next, humans will face them the same way they faced the auction, with confidence, determination, and the unshakable belief that they belong among the stars.